Everyone seems to have on their mind somehow that season 2 is going to bring us into alignment with the original series. But given that the world you're actually tapping into is the world of Spock and Pike in number 1, is the cage environment slightly more useful to you as a touchstone than 3 years of Bill Shatner and that world?
We are going to bring everything into alignment at the end of the season, and the cage will be touched on. But in ways that I think are hopefully surprising and unexpected. I think one of the things that I've really enjoyed in my time working on Star Trek is looking at stories that have been told, but then really examining them for the gray areas, the areas where certain things can be filled in or built on without violating canon. So that's a big part of what we're doing this season.
So you guys have a whole multiverse that you're dealing with now. Can you give us an update just on the production status of the Picard series? Like, is it limited? Is it ongoing? When do you start production?
It's ongoing, and we start production in April.
And you're expecting multiple seasons?
Yeah.
And also the animated series. Is that going to be? Is Mike McMahon on that? Is that who's going to be involved with that?
We can't really talk about it yet.
Can you say anything about any of the projects, like the status of any of them, or what you're hoping for them?
You'll be hearing a lot about it very soon.
I think the one thing we can say, which is more general, is that it's been a real conscious effort that every project we do have its own voice and occupy its own space. And I don't mean own space in the canon, I mean just its own tonal vision. Because you shouldn't tune into Discovery and wonder if you flip the channel and it was Picard. Like, they should feel different, they should have different messages, they're coming from different people, and I think that's what we're most excited about, because the writers and the caliber of people who keep coming out of the woodwork. Michael Chabon wrote the next short that's coming. I mean, it's ridiculous. Who are coming and raising their hand saying, "Can I please be a part of Star Trek?" has been amazing.
But also as viewers, we want to make sure you're getting a different experience every time you watch a different Trek show.
And so is the plan to roll out all these series to make sure they're all at different times? Like CBS.
You mean different timelines or different?
Yeah, no, I mean CBS is talking about having year-round Star Trek.
Yeah.
So is it going to be like one runs and then the next one starts?
It'll never be that clean, because also I think you want people to be excited for it to come,
Right.
not burning out. So I think
After you have a good meal, it's nice to take a walk before you have your dessert.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how we look at it.
yeah.
And I know initially you talked about a long time ago that you didn't want to bring Spock in because that felt like too much. What made you change your mind and decide to take that risk?
What gets me so excited about the story that we get to tell with Spock this season is that it is the unwritten chapter of Spock. This is not the Spock that you know from the beginning of TOS. It's pre-TOS. He is not that formed Vulcan yet. His experience with the Red Angel and the signals has fried his logical brain. He cannot make sense of it. And he is emotionally ill-equipped to deal with it. So both logic and emotion are failing him totally. And he is totally unsure of himself and trying to figure out how to make sense of the mystery and where he fits into the world. And it's through his complicated relationship with his sister that he's able to figure out how to become and actualize himself as the Spock that we know from TOS. And that's really exciting to us because it in no way violates canon. It just builds on what's been said before.
In season 2, what's the character that you're most proud of? Or you find the most interesting arc? Which character?
Spock, in many ways. I mean, look, my heart is always with Michael Burnham. Her journey, that's the one that's most accessible to me as a writer when I sit down to write a script. But I think that I am very excited about Spock this season because this is literally the only season in which we can tell this story about Spock. So there's a big reason to do it now, and I'm excited about that. I'm excited for people to get to see that.
So Rue's arc is also, I mean, they're all good.
Yeah.
But Doug Jones is such a gift. They're all a gift. I mean, again, it's like I say that, and I'm like, but I mean, you'll see I'm literally weeping watching like a rough cut. I mean, he's just such a beautiful soul. You see it, right? Like, that's him. And through all that latex, you still see it. But his story is pretty spectacular.
Given I'll say the Star Trek historical cultural significance of Major Barrett, was casting and the handling of the number one character particularly sensitive, particular care?
You know, I really credit the Roddenberrys and Rod Roddenberry for you know, not only was she a critical character on Star Trek, she also happened to be his mother. So he was very supportive, and you know, really has been nothing but supportive. So yes, obviously we had to be delicate and careful in what we were doing, but the truth is, you didn't know much about number one, so there's a lot of room to build.
In the history of Star Trek, then maybe is she a character? There's not a lot of characters that were left with monumental potential.
Right.
She's someone quite significant.
Tremendous potential.
About whom really nothing.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Are we going to find out her name, number one's real name, and all that?
You'll have to watch and see.
I know, like, partway, it's just TV, so partway through the season, I know you guys had a lot of shifts and what was going on. Did that change the way you and Jake Stuff have decided to play out the season, or are you sticking with everything you planned from the beginning?
No, I think we always had certain pillars. Here's how I like to structure a season when you're in the room. You spend the first couple of months talking about what you want the show to be, and you ideally decide on an outcome. We want the finale to be here. This is where we want to end them. And so once you know that, you can reverse engineer your season very strategically to get to that outcome. It's really critical. So I always think of it as like there are going to be 4 major pivot points that I want to identify at the beginning to know how to get to that place. But I don't want to fill in too many of the gaps, because if I fill in too many of the gaps, it doesn't leave any room to be surprised as we continue to break story throughout the season. So it's a matter of having a structure that allows you the freedom to improvise.
And are there new writers in the room that you're excited about that we should know about?
Yeah, there's a ton.
Who are they?
There's a woman who came in named Michelle Paradise, who's fantastic. Alan McElroy is amazing. Eric and Bowie have been incredible this year. I mean, I could go on and on about each one, but
we have an amazing staff.
Yeah, they've been amazing. Yeah.
And are we going to a lot of planets this season? Are we seeing some places?
You will see a few planets this season. Yeah.
Which ones that we've seen before?
Talos.
We're going there.
We're going to Talos.
If you look at the new season of Doctor Who, they've made a very conscious effort to step away from too much heavy canon. When we all talk about canon, all those conversations about canon, all the questions about canon, how do you navigate managing that great behemoth with the fact that you still have to cater to an audience who come to this fresh and who don't have 50 years of library?
I think that you have to hold equal weight with fans and with non-fans, and it's tricky because you know, die-hard Trek fans are critical and exacting of their Star Trek, and yet what we don't want to do is eliminate the possibility of new fans who then 10 years from now can be old fans. And so we're trying to figure out a way always to make sure that we are opening the door so that even if you don't have any knowledge of Trek, you can airdrop in and have a great experience and fall in love with the characters and fall in love with the scope and scale of the show. But if you do love Trek, it's actually going to be an even juicier experience, because you're going to have all of the baggage of your experience that you can keep building on, and that's the fun of it. And it's also the challenge of it.